In this tutorial, we'll look at how to create a simple contact form and send out an email through that form. So first of all, I have a simple HTML form right here, which you can see is called contact, and it loads the action contact pro.php. It sends it through the method post. So what we have here is we have a name field, we have an email field, and we have a message, and of course a submit button. So if we look at the form, it's set up like this. So I don't want to dwell a lot on how to set up the actual form because that's basic HTML. So what I actually want to build now is the receiving end, so the program for the contact.php. So what we will do is in PHP Storm, we'll right click and say new PHP file. We'll call it contact pro. So in this file right here, we'll say if, because that's our initial if statement that will look for if the form actually has been pressed or if some data has been sent with it. We'll look for is set. And the thing that should be set is the post superglobal of the email. And email should be within quotes. So inside of the if statement itself, we will need all of our variables, and we also need the mail function itself. So first of all, we should set up an email to. So this should be equal to the email we actually want to send it to. So you@yourdomain.com. We also want a subject line. So subject is equal to, in this case, we'll just say subject. So next up here, we want to catch all of our post superglobal variables that we have sent through the form. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up 3 variables. The one for name that we'll set equal to our post superglobal for the name. And we'll do another one for email and another one for message. So what we now want to do is we want to comprise a message to send through the email that actually combines both the name, the email, and the message. So we'll set up a variable that we call email message, so underscore message. And we'll set this equal to some text. So in this case, we'll just say form details below. And what we will add here is we will add a backslash and an N for new line. So this will now be recognized by our email program as 2 break lines, new lines. So now we want to concatenate this email message with the rest of our message. So we'll say email message again, but in this case, we'll say dot equal to, which will concatenate. So we'll add this to our original message. And what we will say here is we will say name is now our name variable. Again, new line. Next up, we'll again say email message, concatenate that with the user entered email, and again, a new line. And then of course the message itself. So now we have actually caught all of our data that we sent through the form. We've put it into variables, and we've set up an email message that should then be our email body that we send out. So next up, we actually just need to add in our mail function itself, mail, which is a built-in function. It will require the to email. So the first parameter is email to, comma the subject. And then, of course, the entire email message that we just comprised. And now it can take a lot of parameters. So what we will write here is the headers for the specific email. So what we'll say here is in double quotes, we'll say from, colon, and then we will put in the email the user has entered, semicolon at the end. So now we basically have an email sending program. Of course, there is no validation in this at all. So it doesn't check for any inconsistencies or if the email is right or whatever. So we'll build that in a second. But let's just for a quick minute add a thank you message to the user who has filled out this form. Let's break out of PHP in this case here. And down here we'll start another PHP. So what we need to do is we will need to take this if statement end and put it down into this bracket down here. And outside of the PHP statement, we'll just say in plain text, thank you for your message. So now we have our simple email program. What we now need to do is we need to add some security, or rather some validation. So what we will do now is we'll add an if statement to check if all of our data has been actually sent through the form and into this program file. So what we'll say is we'll say if not is set. So if it is not set, and what we'll be looking for is the post variable, and we'll basically run through all of them. So name, and we'll use the or operator, which are these pipes here. And we can basically copy paste the is set statement 2 times and then add another pipe in between here. I'll just break it out so that it's a bit easier to get an overview of it. So if is not set post name and the email and the message, we wanted to actually echo a message. We wanted to say no input to validate, and then we wanted to die. course, remember to finalize your parentheses here. So another thing that we want to add right now is we want to take our email headers and actually add a bit more detail to those. So at the bottom, below the message here, what we will do is we'll add another variable that we call headers. So in this headers, we will define where the email is from, which email to reply to, and what the mailer script was. So what we'll do here is we'll say equal to, and then inside of double quote, we'll say from, and then we'll add the email. Then we will add a return character and a new line. And again, just for visibility's sake, I will concatenate on the next line so that it's a bit easier to get the overview. And on this line here, we will say reply to. And again, in this case, it's the same email, but this could of course be another email if we wanted to. I will add another return character and another new line character. Once again, I will concatenate on the next line. So here we will go for the x-mailer, which is PHP / and then we want the PHP version. So outside of this, we will concatenate with PHP version and then end the string. So now instead of having from email down here, what we will do is we'll just add the header. An extra thing that we can do is in the message down here, let's add a echo statement. So inside of a new PHP statement, we'll say echo, and let's just echo out the name, just to make it a bit more of a personal response from the system. And of course a semicolon at the end.